Hey, it's James, Follows Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. I'm the only one in the world that uses that hashtag. So I was just thinking what I would do. Here's what I would do from jump in any case. And this is what the women do. It's crazy. Women will do things in family court and then fathers will say, "Oh, I can't do that." And the mother's doing it and getting away with it, like going to get a false protection order, going to keeping the kids, getting on the offensive and bombing the crap out of you with discovery and stuff like that. Well, I can't do that. I'll look too aggressive. So you're in the court, one person versus another. You're supposed to be equal, and you can't do the same things that the other side is doing. That's insane. We're just brainwashed and programmed to think that. So I was thinking, what would I do different if I had to do it all over again? If I'm back to 2001, what would I do different knowing what I know now? And I see guys do stuff like this, and it helps them get on the, you know, it helps them get on the offensive from the jump, and their case closes out faster. I see guys that don't do this, and their case drags out, and they're getting punked, and they're getting railroaded, and the mother just drools at the opportunity, the next thing to control them with, and the dad's like, "I'll be on my best behavior if I act really nice and really negotiate nicely with the terrorists, and I bring the terrorists flowers and all sweet and loving. Maybe the terrorists will change their narcissistic, sociopathic mind." Anyway, if I do it all over again, this is what I would do. So I first got the mother started withholding the child. I filed to start a custody case. Well, she tried to get a restraining order. She was holding the child. We started arguing on my right to see the kid. I said, "This thing's going to get ugly if you keep doing this." She's like, "Is that a threat?" So she called the cops. Then the cops advised her, the Seattle police advised her to go get a protection order, even though I didn't do anything except say this thing's going to get ugly. Like I meant going to court. But unlike a lot of guys with no common sense, I didn't tip her off and tell her what my strategy was. She still went to go get a protection anti-harassment order. Went to court. The judge said, "Is there any way you could see the kid?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, but it has to be a neutral party and this and that." And then my mom volunteered to exchange the child. So my mom had to drive 40 miles from another city near Tacoma to come to Seattle to pick up my daughter and drive 3 blocks. And I had roommates, and she had roommates. And eventually we had a judge who said, "Look, you guys each got roommates. His mom shouldn't have to drive 40 miles just to drop the kid off 3 blocks." That's how insane my baby's mom was. So we had 2 restraining order hearings. We went to family court. The family court gave me 0 visitation. Then the mother got an attorney, and I appealed to a judge called a motion for revision. So about a month and a half's gone by, and then the mother gets an attorney and gets a continuance to my mini appeal. We go in front of a judge. Her attorney shows up and said, "I just got retained. I need more time." Then all of a sudden she offers a few hours of visitation a few times a week with that thing never happened with my mom picking the child up until she got an attorney. I was afraid under a restraining order to have anybody go near her, so I just said, "Screw it. I'm not even going to play with fire." And some guys stay the night at their baby's mom's house while there's a restraining order. So anyway, I made sure I didn't violate that, and that nothing happened. And so eventually, about a month and a half into it, she got an attorney. Then my mom could go and pick up the child and bring her to my house 3 blocks away for a couple hours. So what I would do different now is if I got the kid on a Friday or something or a 3-day weekend, I would just keep her. And we're eventually about to go to court, and then I'll have proof that I can handle the child for days straight and overnights. When I went to court, the judge said, "Oh, you can't handle the child. She's just a baby, but I'll give you 4 hours Monday through Thursday when the mom's at work. The mother worked 4 10s, and you can have 8 hours on Saturday." So I would keep the child when that's one thing. Before a hearing comes up, I would just keep the child. And then, on my days off, then bring her back and then see if she lets me have her. Then she withholds her. And she says, "He kept the child for 3 days straight." Well, she kept the child for 40 days straight. So if she's pointing a finger at me, she has 3 pointing right back at her. And some of you guys never even think about this. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. That looks bad. I'll get in trouble. So if you keep your child for 1 or 2 days, and the mother's kept the child for a month, 2 months, 6 months, and she complains about you doing that, then her own testimony complaining about you doing something shows that what she's doing by her own standard, by her own barometer, shows what she's doing is 100 times worse. But you didn't think of that, did you? Because you're caught up with a slave mentality. When somebody accuses you, all I do is think, how do I make myself apologize for what I did? Instead of turn around and say, what a hypocrite. Like, we love doing that in nowadays, pointing out the hypocrisy of people who say that we're wrong or morally wrong. But we won't do that. We won't do that in family court because we're so brainwashed to be a punk. So, number one, I would keep the kid. Number two, when she got the protection order, I would do a motion to quash the protection order as soon as I found out about it. And then everybody who testified against me, I would file lawsuits against them in small claims court for lying about me, especially after the restraining order was dropped. I eventually did that, like, after my case is over for like a year or so. I dragged a couple people in small claims court. They wanted nothing to do with me after that, so they stopped coming to in my case and testifying against me because I gave them a little dose of their own medicine. And they were such victims. They were trying to destroy my life with my kid, and they're victims because I sued them in small claims court. See how hypocritical everybody is? So I would do a motion to quash the protection order. I would sue everybody in small claims court. I did file a bar complaint against the guardian litem, against mother's attorney. I filed a complaint to the guardian litem registry. And with the internet now, I would be exposing people and telling them what's going on in my case. The guardian litem. I'm going to do a video about that guardian litem. I should do it right. I should do it tonight. So I really should do that. I keep forgetting about doing it. And then I would bomb her with Discovery immediately. And I didn't know anything about Discovery until they sent me questionnaires. Now, here's an example of the difference between me and you. Everybody's like, oh, well, James, you're so knowledgeable about the court system and you're so smart and you know all this stuff and blah. No, I didn't. I didn't know anything about Discovery till the mother sent me interrogatories. I'm like, oh, they're sending me a questionnaire? Oh, let me send them a questionnaire. I talked to so many guys. They get interrogatories and they answer them on day 29, right before the deadline, because they're all freaked out. I'm like, did you send interrogatories toward them? No. Or a guy might say, I did, but they didn't answer theirs. Well, what are you doing about it? Nothing. Like, why don't you equally exchange fire with fire? And then the other thing I wouldn't do is I went back to court to modify child support when I lost a vehicle that I had and I had to get a new vehicle. I had a paid off vehicle and I lost that. And then I had 2 jobs and I got laid off of one of them. I only had 1 job. And then I found out the mother was doing real well. So I went back to modify child support, and that's where she got her crazy second attorney. And that's what dragged me in and out of court. That's what set it off for them to drag me in and out of court. And then also when I relocated, in Washington, like a lot of states, you got to give notice of a relocation, and the mother had a right to object, and she objected to it and dragged me into court for a year and a half over that relocation. I moved from Seattle to Tacoma, 30 miles. She lived in Los Angeles, and she objected to me moving. The whole purpose of the objection and relocation is to stop a parent moving the child away from you and disrupting the relationship. The mother had abandoned our daughter for a year and a half and had to be dragged in court. And that's where I won my motion for discretion review. There's really a screwy ruling on that. We could talk about that in another video. But I would not have given the mother notice that I'm relocating. I just would have done it because she didn't care. She had abandoned our child for a year and a half. Washington law says you can modify and reduce somebody's time if they've abandoned the child for haven't exercised visits for a year or more. That's a reason to go to court and to reduce their time. I never did that because I knew my corrupt judge would probably give her more time and try to play a little, white savior, great white hope, JFK meets Martin Luther King, do-gooder. So I would have not notified her. I would just moved and just lived my life, and she wouldn't have cared, and she probably would have totally abandoned my daughter for 18 years. So a few different things I would have done different. And if I'm a guy, I'm getting on the offensive Discovery, emergency motion, withholding the kid, and all that stuff right from the jump and not stopping.